Quick advertisement! Have you been over to Farfetch'd 2 lately? I recently uploaded a new episode of Ask Farfetch'd, a video on how to improve narration when making reviews, and a PS2 collection video, coming in at 1 hour 22 minutes. That is a long video. There is a lot of content over on that channel that you are missing out on. Go to Farfetch'd 2 now! Actually, wait, no, watch this review, and then go to, whatever. Thief. I'm gonna be honest, I have no way to begin this review. I was gonna do this whole thing where I pretend to steal the game from the store, you know, because it's Thief and I thought it'd be funny and stupid. You know, just a shot on my hand, picking up the game and then pretending to walk away, and I'd probably edit police sirens in the background or something stupid like that. I guess they didn't like cameras being in their store because they told me to leave. I don't even know if I'm banned, or what, they just told me to get out. That was the only fun idea I had to begin this review, and now I can't do it. So, consider this boring introduction courtesy of Game! Thief is one of those franchises that were just in the wrong place at the wrong time for me. By which I mean they were released on a platform I wasn't interested in at an age where I didn't have a PC to play them on. I remember my friends at school used to recommend them to me all the time, and even people today are telling me I should give them a shot. And so recently I did. And I thought it was okay. Kinda like Mario 64, I recognise that it's a decent game, but it hasn't really aged so well in my opinion. Not for somebody like me who's playing it for the first time. I mean, I can appreciate how revolutionary it must have been for its time. The unscripted AI, hiding in the shadows and eavesdropping on conversations is all really cool. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into it. I suppose I haven't really given myself enough chance to get into it, so, you know, maybe I'll give it another chance someday. Apparently Ken Levine was heavily involved in the writing process of the original Thief, so I'm not sure whether that makes me want to try it out more or less, considering my recently growing grudge for him. Yeah, I'm still not over that, Ken Levine. Well, anyway, enough about the past. The point I've been trying to make up to this point is that I know absolutely nothing about Thief. The world, the characters, the lore. I'm going into this franchise completely fresh, so I'm pretty excited. So without further ado, let's get into... Right, it's got a stupid steelbook. Let's get into Thief. That opens really silently. That's not very satisfying at all. The story of Thief centres around Garrett, a thief guy who steals from the rich and sometimes the poor because he's a thief and that's just what they do. And as far as this game goes, that is the only character development we get. Works for me, I guess. The story, more or less, revolves around Garrett's partner going missing, which he obviously has problems dealing with, as well as a new bad guy who's doing bad stuff and hanging people because, I mean, why not? And there's a plague going around at some point, and there's a book, and there's this guy, his name's Basso, yeah, Basso. It's honestly like they consulted a bloody word search when naming some of these characters. I mean, what kind of name is Basso anyway? By the way, if you can't already tell, I don't know what the story to this game is. I mean, there are hints of things going off here and there, but 90% of the time, all I could think was, why am I doing this again? Like, why doesn't Garrett just go home or something? Just stop being a thief and you lose all risk of being hung. So just go home or something, you'll be safe at home. But instead we're here, and I don't know why. What is going on? I read all the cutscenes and watched all the subtitles. I should know what's going on, but I don't. But it's a good job the characters are interesting and make up for it. Pretty much every single character is either obnoxious, brooding, or just dumb. And Garrett is the worst offender of this. You know that face that you make when you walk into another room but you forget what you're doing? Yep, that's the only facial expression that Garrett knows. What was I doing again? I think I was stealing something. I forget. It'll come to me. Plain and simple, this game gives me no reason to care about Garrett. I mean, he doesn't seem like he cares about anyone or anything, so why should I? I was looking forward to Thief primarily for the stealth, considering the fact that the series is loved for its stealth. And here, It's fun for the first 5 minutes. It does initially feel kinda cool jumping from shadow to shadow, and the little things like burning out candles and torches with water arrows is pretty cool, and the enemies do actually pose a threat. Getting caught in this game is strongly not recommended for 2 reasons. 1, because 9 times out of 10 it'll result in death, and 2, the combat is absolutely awful. Tap R1 until they're dead. Hooray! Then again, as soon as you start climbing, they lose sight of you, so maybe they're not so much of a threat after all. There's a lot of points in the game where you swear that stealth is not an option. There is only one way I could possibly get to my destination, and that's by sprinting there with 10 bad guys on my tail. This is suddenly not fun anymore. That might as well be the slogan to this game. This is suddenly not fun anymore. Running across rooftops is cool at first, but it can be really cumbersome and slow at times. By which I mean most of the time, if not all the time. Breaking into people's homes is cool in theory. Rooting through people's stuff and stealing everything they own is pretty satisfying, I'm not gonna lie. But the time it takes for the game to load the room and then load the city on the way out makes it such a chore. You can't fool me, game. I know these QuickTime events are just stalling. Which reminds me, this game is bloody ravaged by loading screens. Whenever you go inside a little store, loading screen. Whenever you go into another section of the village, loading screen. Going inside a little room to steal something, a QuickTime event that's actually masking a loading screen! I mean, yeah, okay, I sort of expect this from the PS3 version, but really? The PS4 version? Grand Theft Auto 5 was last gen now, and we get this! It just ruins all the momentum of the game and leaves it feeling pretty slow and sluggish. Overall, Thief is a big disappointment. Yeah, the graphics are nice, the city looks fantastic, there's definitely a great sense of atmosphere at times when you're wandering around. Climbing around on buildings is cool most of the time, but my god, is the rest of this game a mess. A story I don't care about, featuring characters I don't care about. The main character doesn't like killing, yet has no problem stealing everything from a poor starving family. In a stealth game that makes you completely vulnerable while forcing you into combat, and the stealth itself is pretty tedious too. It's just all so blah. It's a shame too, because it definitely isn't a lazily made game. There is a lot of good stuff there. It's just too many puzzle pieces that don't fit together. Having to keep watch for birds and dogs so they don't give your position away. Sneaking around slowly on broken glass to not draw attention. Solving puzzles in the environment to find out safe combinations. It's clear that a lot of thought went into this game and it wanted to be something cool, but it's just an unfortunate mess. And apparently my parrot downstairs agrees. And so that's pretty much Thief. For someone like me who's a newcomer to the franchise, I have to say it wasn't exactly a great first impression. But one question I can't answer though, how does it stand up to the other games in the franchise? Is it a step down or an improvement? So to answer this, let's get a second opinion and a long-time fan of the franchise. Today, Jake from BecauseVideoGames.
Hello everyone watching, thank you for letting me invade your view space for a second. I'm Jake Baldino, I talk about video games and movies on Pretty Much It, and Because Video Games, and I'm here to provide a little more context to far-fetched review of Thief. Now, as a longtime fan of the series, growing up as a boy playing the game on his shoddy little computer, I had a big stake in this new game, and I was very worried. And although I wasn't the biggest fan of the new Thief, you can see in my review, the high points of it was that it is actually a good new Thief game. If that makes sense. You know, it wasn't, I didn't really enjoy the game that much, but it did manage to hold on to the core beliefs and foundations of the original Thief game, and I found that impressive. That's something very tricky to do, something only a game most recently like Deus Ex Human Revolution managed to pull off. That old school PC clicky game is very hard to translate into modern gameplay without it coming off boring or stale and feeling fresh and new, and I think that's one of the ways the new Thief is successful. Gameplay mechanics, a lot of the old staple gadgets are there, like the rope arrow, the fire and water arrows, little techniques like that, obviously with a modern twist to them, and that is a really nice nod. Unfortunately, they're not used very well in the context of the gameplay. It's basically linear. You have to use this tool when you use this tool. Except for like a level or two. There isn't really a lot of freedom, and that was my problem with the new Thief. The old Thief was full of freedom. You know, approach, setup, how you take down missions, it was all completely open to you. And I feel like while Thief did keep the core gadgets and stuff like that, it didn't really use them to its fullest potential, which has already been realized in the old games. Also, the tone and atmosphere and just the setting, I really thought they got that pretty good. Garrett is really cool. He's always been really cool. And the city he dwells in, it looks fantastic. It looks like concept art come to life, and I was a big fan of that. I did give that marks for my review. It captures the feel of the city ever since the old games, most notably, especially the third one, Thief Deadly Shadows. And for me, those are the high points of why the game kind of worked in the context of someone who was a fan of the old series. Obviously, it's not totally comparable to the quality of the old Thief games. They're just so awesome. This one's a little but that's just me. So if you want to get into the old games, I say go backwards. Start with Thief 3 Deadly Shadows. That's a little bit more current gen-ish. And then work your way back to the other two games, Metal Age specifically. A really good Thief game. But seriously, check those out. And wrapping this up, I'm Jake Baldino. And Kane, thanks for having me. Back to you, pal. Buddy old pal, old boy.
And so that's Thief. Pretty appropriate name because this game cost me £10 more than Tropical Freeze. I feel like I've been robbed of my time and money. I'll admit, I was hoping this game would be bad just so I could say that.